Hello and welcome back to This Week in New Genre Books. My name is Amelia, and from Locus magazine we're going to tell you all the new science fiction, fantasy, horror, and related books being published the week of September 10th, 2024. First up, science fiction, we have 4 titles. From Kemi Ashing-Giwa, we have This World Is Not Yours, out from Nightfire in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a science fiction horror novella. Amara embarks on a colonization project, New Belliforme, a beautiful and lethal planet that produces the Grey, a self-cleaning mechanism that New Belliforme's scientists are certain only attacks invasive organisms, consuming them. Humans have been careful to do nothing to call attention to themselves. Then a rival colony wakes the Grey. Do me a favor, hit that like button for me now. From Susan Palumbo, we have Countess, out from ECW Press in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a science fiction space opera novella, a queer Caribbean Count of Monte Cristo. After serving as a loyal first lieutenant in the colonial empire's interstellar army, Vikira Samaru is falsely accused of murder and treason. Her conviction and prison sentence set her on a path of revenge, determined to take down the empire and free her people. From longtime Hard SF writer Neal Asher, we have World Walkers, out from Peer in trade paperback and ebook. This is a science fiction novella, a standalone in the world of the Owner trilogy. Ottinger, a rebel and mutant on Earth, experimented on by the Inspectorate, led by the Ruthless Committee, discovers that he has the power to reach alternate worlds, and flees. He meets a traveler from the future, the one who engineered Ottinger's world-walking mutation, but it only helped a few people, and millions continue to suffer under tyranny. Worse, the ability has attracted hostile attention to Earth. From the multi-talented author, translator, and anthologist Francesco Verso, we have No/Mad/Land, out from Flame Tree Press in trade paperback, hardcover, and ebook. This is a near-future science fiction solarpunk novel, sequel to the Roamers, I Caminatori series. The Pulldogs leave Rome to wander the world as nomads to spread their solarpunk way of living. The group splits up. Part goes north to live in the beautiful wilderness of Siberia. The others go to Central Africa to try to save the Dogon tribe from extinction. Translated by Sally McCory from the Italian. Next up, horror, we have 4 titles. From Delilah as Dawson, we have Guillotine, out from Titan Books UK in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a thriller/horror novel. A thrift fashionista gets into a relationship with the son of the editor-in-chief of a top fashion magazine in order to meet his mother and ask her for an internship. When they finally visit his family's island mansion, she's floored at the opulence. As soon as the fairy departs, the servants, who have been essentially enslaved, decide to get rid of their enslavers for good. From Rachel Harrison, we have So Thirsty, out from Berkeley in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a horror novel. Dreading her birthday, Sloane is pleased when her husband surprises her with a weekend getaway hosted by her best friend Naomi. Hoping for a cozy, relaxing time where she can forget about her indifferent life and her husband's infidelity, Sloane instead has a wild night out with a group of mysterious, vampiric strangers who change her life forever. That's definitely on brand for vampires. From Keith Rawson, we have The Devil by Name, out from Random House in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a horror novel sequel to Fever House. 5 years after the event that drove most of the global population to madness, the world is overrun with the fevered, once human, zombie-like creatures drawn indiscriminately to violence and murder. In a campaign to restabilize the country, the massive corporation known as Teradyne Industries has merged with the US government, quarantining major US cities behind towering walls and corralling the afflicted there with the hope, they say, of developing a vaccine. From Kirsten White, we have Lucy Undying, out from Del Rey in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a horror novel retelling the story of Stoker's Dracula from the viewpoint of Lucy Westenra. One of Dracula's first victims, Lucy spends her undead life trying to escape his clutches and discover herself. Her undead life takes an unexpected turn in 21st century London, where she meets the charming Iris, whose family has built a health empire on a sinister secret. Next up, fantasy, we have 10 titles. From Chloe Gong, we have Vilest Things, out from Saga Press in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is an epic fantasy novel, second in the Flesh and False Gods series. Kala has won the bloody games, eliminated her tyrant uncle, and now serves as advisor to the throne. The king isn't who he appears to be, and she's the only one who knows that. Then someone awakens from a years-long coma with a secret that threatens the monarchy. From R.J. Barker, we have Warlords of Wyrdwood, out from Orbit US in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy novel, the second in the Forsaken trilogy. After their victory against the oppressive forces of the Rye, Forester Cahan must lead the people of the village of Harn into the Wyrdwood. Without him, the people will be helpless against the terrors of the forest. At the same time, a dark god is rising in power and has its claws in Cahan. From Helen Dent, we have The Burning Tree, out from Enclave Escape in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a young adult fantasy novel. In the town of Bishop's Gap, two feuding families dominate. Both fear the curse of the burning tree. When the mark of the curse appears, a girl falls into a coma, and her sister goes into the forest to confront the tree. Things happen, and the rival families are forced to work together to uncover the ancient secret of Bishop's Gap and end the curse before time runs out. From Saara El-Arifi, we have The Ending Fire, out from Del Rey in hardcover and ebook. This is a fantasy novel, third in the Ending Fire trilogy, begun in the final strife. Scylla and Hassa must navigate the politics of their new world while searching for Anur, as a vigilante known as the Truthsayer raises an army against the Wardens. Meanwhile, across the sea, John serves as Major General, training soldiers for combat. Matters of the heart will prove to be the hardest battlefield. From Logan Ashley Kisner, we have debut Old Wounds, out from Delacourt in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a young adult fantasy novel. Two transgender teens trying to escape to California end up in a small, isolated town where they must escape the locals, who plan to sacrifice one of them to an ancient monster that only eats girls. From best-selling author T.J. Klune, we have Somewhere Beyond the Sea, out from Tor in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy novel sequel to The House in the Cerulean Sea. Arthur Parnassus is the headmaster of a strange orphanage on a distant and peculiar island, and he hopes to soon be the adoptive father to the 6 magical and so-called dangerous children who live there. When Arthur is summoned to make a public statement about his dark past, he finds himself at the helm of a fight for the future that his family, and all magical people, deserve. From Shauna Lawless, we have The Land of the Living and the Dead, out from Ad Astra UK in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy novel, third in the Guile Song series, set in Ireland in 1011 AD. High King Brian Boru must defend his crown from the mortal kingdoms rising up against him. At the same time, the two magical races of Ireland, the Fomorians and the Descendants, eternal enemies, both now seek dominion over the mortal world, and King Brian's queen is a secret Fomorian. From Amy Liao, we have The Scarlet Throne, out from Orbit US in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a political epic fantasy novel, first in the False Goddess trilogy, a first novel. Binza is a living goddess, chosen by the gods to rule and dispense justice from the Scarlet Throne. Rather than channeling the wisdom of an immortal deity, she harbors a demon. And when it comes time for a new girl to replace her, Binza makes a deal with her demon to sacrifice her people's lives to magnify his power, if he will help her seize permanent control. From Stacey McEwen, we have Valley, out from Angry Robot in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy novel, the third book in the Glacian trilogy. At the bottom of the chasm, Dawson and her followers traipse through the darkness to find their long-awaited home. With her powers much depleted and food supplies running low, they may not survive the journey. From Emily Menzel, we have The Girl Who Became a Rabbit, out from Hub City in chapbook and Kindle. This is a chapbook novelette in prose form about fable and trauma, femininity and creatureliness, which imagines the transformation of the body into language. Finally, in collections and anthologies, we have 5 titles. From editor Neal Clarke, we have The Best Science Fiction of the Year, Volume 8, out from Nightshade in trade paperback, hardcover, and ebook. This is a year's best anthology, 8th in the series, with stories from 2022 by authors including Tobias S. Buckell, Ray Naylor, Zen Cho, Annalee Newitz, Greg Egan, Suzanne Palmer, S.L. Huang, Alistair Reynolds, Naomi Kritzer, Tade Thompson, and Yoon-Ha Lee. Clarke discusses the state of short SF in his introduction. From editor Ellen Datlow, we have Fears, out from Tachyon Publications in trade paperback and ebook. This is an anthology of 21 stories of psychological horror. Authors include Simon Bestwick, Stephen Graham Jones, Margot Lanigan, Josh Mallerman, Joyce Carol Oates, Priya Sharma, and more. From Brian Evanson, we have Goodnight, Sleep Tight, out from Coffee House Press in trade paperback and ebook. This is a collection of 19 stories, 2 appearing in the US for the first time, mixing horror and science fiction as they explore possible consequences of artificial intelligence and post-human life. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much for sticking around. Please consider watching some of our past videos to help us get our watch hours up. We need 4,000 watch hours to monetize this channel, and we're not far off. From Jeff Fleischer, we have Animal Husbandry and Other Fictions, out from Running Wild in trade paperback and ebook. This is a collection of 16 stories with fantasy elements involving mythology, fables, and the myths people tell themselves. From editor Johnny Maines, we have Bound in Blood, out from Titan Books in hardcover and ebook. This is a horror anthology of 19 stories about cursed books, damned libraries, and weird. Authors include Adam Cesare, Eric LaRocca, Elizabeth Hand, Charlie Higson, Kim Newman, Priya Sharma, and A.G. Slatter. That wraps up this week. Please subscribe and turn notifications on so that YouTube can help us connect. We are at Locus Mag and at Locus Magazine on most platforms. Locus is a 501c3 nonprofit. We couldn't do this work without your support. We'll see you next week with more new books.